Hey everyone, this is Tom Salemi of DeviceTalks. Welcome back to the DeviceTalks Weekly Podcast. We have a great episode coming your way. My keynote conversation will be with Jessica Mathieson. She is the president of Stryker's medical business, and we'll talk about Stryker's smart hospital platform and how it can help nurses and other healthcare professionals on the front lines. Before that, Kayleen Brown delivers this week's FOMO, brought to you by Novanta. A great conversation about surgical robotics. And of course, we'll kick the whole thing off with our Newmarkers newsmakers. Chris Newmarker and I will unpack the week's events and tell you how you can score some Girl Scout cookies. So don't miss that. Before we get this podcast going, though, please make sure you join us at Device Talks of Boston. It's happening on May 27th and May 28th at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. I know it's now the Thomas Menino Convention and Exhibition Center, but I really like saying BCEC. So we'll be at the BCEC on May 27th, 28th. Go to boston.devicetalks.com for our agenda, and which is continuing to grow, and our speakers. So without any further delay, let's get this podcast started. All right, you ready for this?
Ready.
Chris Newmarker, how are you, sir?
Doing well, Tom. Doing well.
Chris, now I bought 4 boxes of cookies from your daughter, the Girl Scout cookies. So I had to buy 4 to get them shipped. Yeah. I think we should we put like the link in the show notes, or do you want how many cookies does she need to sell? Do you think?
Oh man,
do we push them on our listeners? What do you think?
Let's. I don't want to like. I mean, really seriously, by listening to this, you don't have to buy my daughter's Girl Scout cookies, even though they're delicious. They're especially good. I mean, Thin Mints. I mean, come on.
I went with Thin Mints.
Best cookie ever.
I did get the what was the new cookie? What do they rename the Samoas?
Oh, I think they're. I'd ask Stella when she gets home again. I think it's Caramel Delights, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was like Delights.
Caramel Delights, yeah.
And
there's a new s'mores cookie as well.
And I think I got the peanut butter. My son, I don't like peanut. I'm not a big peanut butter flavored person. I love peanut butter, but I don't like peanut butter flavored things. Do you like peanut butter flavored things? Like,
no.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm with you. It feels like a very healthy morning to have a nice piece of whole wheat toast with some peanut butter on it. Mm-hmm. Get a little half of grapefruit. You're like, man, I'm doing something good for my body here. But yeah, like something like, a peanut butter flavor, whatever. It's just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah. Unless if it's like a place that puts like real peanut butter in it, then you can get by. But if it's something that just sort of just mirrors peanut butter or reflects the peanut butter flavor, no thank you.
Yeah, no. No, I need to get the full on peanut butter. You don't don't mess around with that. Peanut butter ice cream?
Yeah.
It's fun.
Not my favorite.
No, yeah.
Yeah. I'd rather not. So anyway, I ordered the cookies. We'll be getting those, so I'm excited about that. And
fantastic.
She having a good selling season. How's the market?
It's going well.
Yeah.
I mean, if you live around the Twin Cities, like Cub's the big chain, and they've been rocking this. Her Daisy Troop's been rocking the tables outside the Cub grocery stores. So
yeah, I think
well.
As much as it with the shipping, as much as it costs, I was like, okay, that's high. But then I realized it's less than 2 bags of popcorn from the Boy Scouts. So I'm feeling pretty good about my purchase. I got 4 boxes of cookies, which I'll actually enjoy, versus a large bag of popcorn.
Were your boys ever in the Boy Scouts?
Yeah, we talked about this a few episodes ago. We did Boy Scouts, the fundraising, went door to door selling popcorn, and they just don't. Popcorn doesn't generate the same enthusiasm as cookies. It's
like, ooh, chocolate. Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, chocolate covered popcorn and a wreath. Holiday wreaths. Just not. Yeah, the cookies. The Girl Scouts really.
They got it.
They really got it.
Yeah,
it's an operation too. I get to watch the running of my daughter's troop, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is. I mean, Girl Scouts do seem like overall like a cookie. This is so that they can like spend time with their friends and learn cool stuff, right? This isn't like just a cookie selling operation here. Like,
are your boys scouting at all?
Not yet. No, we might get them going on it. I mean, it's pretty cool. We have a few relatives who made it to Eagle Scout, which I mean, that's like super impressive. You get the
impressive. Yeah. All right.
Eagle Scout badge. Yeah.
We will put. I'll put the form in the note. Why not? We'll put the little online form. People, if you need a cookie fix, they deliver. So go there and order.
Here we go. We'll see, but no pressure on anybody. I'm not forcing.
We will not be getting records of people who ordered. We will have no visibility.
Sounds fantastic.
Right. We're not here to talk about cookies, though. We do love cookies.
People.
We're here to talk about the medical device industry, which is so well covered by my colleagues at Mass Device. So what is what's the big news of the week, Chris Newmarker? Let's hit those Newmarkers newsmakers.
Well, number 5 on the list is we actually Smith+Nephew, the big British orthopedic device company. They had a really good Q4 sales beat, and things are really looking up over there. It's been about nearly 2 years since the Swedish activist investor Civian Capital bought a stake in them, and they're really moving forward with some stuff. Got a really a big strategic plan going over there.
Yeah, I posted earlier this week when I saw their report. They had a nice year-over-year increase of 5.7%. Looked at the other ortho businesses, pulled out, like Stryker, pulled out their ortho business. And Zimmer Biomet, I think, was, of the larger companies, was a top performer at 7.2. Stryker's ortho business grew by 4.3. Enovis grew by 10%. Globus grew by 18%. Again, it's a smaller business, but still, that's really great. And we've talked a lot about DePuy Synthes, which only grew just over 1%, 1.1%. So whoever buys DePuy Synthes, I have to think there's some growth in there. Even if you get that growth up to 3 or 4%, I would guess that would be
do something with it. Yeah,
a pretty good return. So, but Smith+Nephew, it's interesting that you mentioned the activist investor, because obviously Medtronic has had their relationship with an activist investor, and they're having some success as well. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe they're bringing some focus to these companies.
Give them a little more focus, give them a little more mojo. So they had some good advice to give our companies in our industry. So this will be fun to follow. And and the stuff going on in Medtronic. I mean, it's actually we got our top news today is from Medtronic, but we'll move on.
Well, let's skip over then and go to number 4. Let's keep it moving.
Keep going here to number 4, and number 4 is Tom. The last article was by senior editor Sean Hooley. This is by associate editor Skylar Rivera. But Skylar Rivera was covering this was last week's podcast or the podcast 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, came out 2 Fridays
2 weeks ago. Yep. So. I mean, this is just getting a lot of attention on Mass Devices. Jenny Barba, the veteran venture capital investor in medtech, had 3 tips for first-time medtech entrepreneurs, and this is based off her interview with this podcast 2 weeks ago. But if you didn't have a chance to listen to our episode 2 weeks ago, Skylar has a really really nice summary of it. Breaks it down to 3 easy points of advice from Jenny Barba. On entrepreneurship and the device industry.
No, Jenny Barber's a great friend of the podcast. She's a listener and a fan, so I hope she's listening and finding out that she is actually a newsmaker herself. And she did a great interview with Kayleen Brown, our managing editor, talking about her career, but her work at Futures Capital. And Skylar Rivera has done a fantastic job with the write-ups of the podcast. So it's really kind of meta having a write-up of a podcast interview being a newsmaker. It's like, whoa.
That's right.
Yeah. And this is actually based on views. I asked you, I'm like, well, are you just giving some love to the podcast? You're like, no it's getting a lot of people reading it. So
yeah, hundreds of people have read this at this point.
That's great.
I think when I checked an hour ago, there was 25 people reading the article while I was checking Mass Device. So
that's fantastic. Good. Well, all right. Well, thank you, Skylar Rivera, for giving a new window into into what we're trying to do here on the podcast. And Chris Newmarker, thanks for highlighting it as a newsmaker. let's roll on to number 3.
Anytime, Tom. I mean, this podcast has really good information for people, and I'm so glad that Skylar's like gotten this nice feature going where we're running out weekly articles of some of the best advice coming out from Device Talks. And number 3 on the list, we're talking on Thursday. This came out today with Sean writing an article on Mass Device about Science Corp, which is led by a Neuralink co-founder, Max Hodak. They closed a $230 million Series C to support their BCI tech, so like nearly doubling the total amount of money they've raised so far. I mean, man, BCIs are a hot space right now.
Absolutely. And this was another LinkedIn post I just put out today. Lightspeed Venture Partners with I always saw it as a big tech investor. They do have more healthcare investments rather than I realized. I think they had close to 30, but they've all been pharma or biotech, some healthcare IT, some kind of / services. One precision medicine oncology test, which I guess could be considered kind of medtech-y. And the other was FreeSpera, which is a digital therapeutic. So neither of them was true medtech. I think brain-computer interface is medtech. I know it's a new technology, but if you're using it to restore someone's vision, to me, that's a medical device.
Yeah.
So it's great to see Lightspeed Venture Partners move into the medtech space. Khosla Ventures has been a longtime supporter of science and of Synchron, which is interesting. They have 2 BCI companies. Khosla Ventures invests similarly to Lightspeed Venture Partners, a lot of biotech, a lot of AI, a lot of digital sort of health, but they do have some more traditional medtech, including some neuro companies in their portfolio. So maybe this will kind of bridge that gap, but bring more tech investors into medtech.
There we go. I mean, really, yeah. I mean, there's just so much excitement kind of in Silicon Valley and like all those tech investors getting into BCIs. Of course, they have all this excitement that, BCIs could be used by people like you and me. If like, I need to like actually like help moderate a Device Talks panel, but I'm going to write an article in my head like in between the sessions or whatever, like I could do that if I had a BCI potentially, right? Yeah, but beyond the science fiction, I mean, there's some just really, really positive things that can like happen, as you said, for people like paralyzed, people who have blindness. I mean, science itself has like they're working on their Prima retinal implant. That's right now, progressing through clinical trials, and Sean has a great picture of it here next to a car key where, I mean, if this was laying next to my car key, I think I'd like brush it off the table because I thought it was a grain of sand, and this is like a retinal implant. I mean, that's just fantastic. So amazing.
And they are performing miracles. And we'll have Nolan Arbaugh, who is the world's first Neuralink user. He'll be a keynote guest rather at Device Talks Boston. He's actually our joint keynote with our Robotics Summit and Expo. So folks attending Device Talks Boston at the conclusion of the event can sit in and hear his story and see him use the device to operate a computer. I think he might be playing some chess against someone either in the audience or with Steve Crow of the Robotics Summit and Expo. So we'll definitely have a great visibility into the BCI space at Device Talks Boston.
You just got me excited saying chess. I mean, I love chess. All my kids love chess, so that's fantastic. Love it. In no way am I volunteering to be the one in the crowd who plays the movie.
What's number 2, Chris Newmarker?
Number 2 is Boston Scientific. They won an expanded CE mark for their Farapulse pulse field ablation system, and the expansion includes the treatment of persistent AFib, and just a win for Boston Scientific with its Farapulse system, which seems to have been really one of the I definitely like it. It's really seemed like kind of the big player in the PFA space. Though, I mean, it's kind of fun now to see like Medtronic like advancing all these technologies as well. We have other up and comers like Abbott and even like Steve Michelson with his Field Medical and whatnot.
Pulse Bioscience is coming along.
Yeah. So I mean, this is an exciting space right now. So, but some positive news for Boston Scientific.
I think we have a pulse field ablation story probably more often than not on the newsmakers. There's seems to be a big news almost every week, if not every other week, surrounding the PFA space. Am Am I exaggerating?
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely really one of the hottest spaces in medtech, though. Though PFA itself isn't heat based. It's like, it's pulse electric waves, but it's right.
Like, this is one of the hottest wink spaces.
There you go.
In medtech. All right. Chris Newmarker, let's roll on.
I have to say, I'll something to add would be this week the folks over at Imricor, which is, I mean, can I call them a startup if they've been around since 2006? I mean, it's amazing industry that there's companies that have been working on things
20 years
for so
is kind
long.
of stretching the startup. I think it's
but I mean, they're trading in Australia now. They've raised a lot of money in the last the year or two, and really advancing now finally on clearances. And it was really fascinating that they I know one of the challenges with pulse field ablation is it looks really good. We actually had a really good session at DeviceTalks Boston a few years ago where Dr. Ken Stein from Boston Scientific was pointing out it looks really good when it's first done, but is it really going to stick or whatnot? And Imricor right now, they have these MRI compatible ablation systems. Right now mainly RF, but they're they're working on PFA systems too that could be compatible with MRI. But I just had to think, I kind of wonder, is that may be part of the answer. If you're moving those ablation systems from CT scanning over to MRI, are you going to get just more insights and kind of take this to the next level? So it's very fascinating. Plus, I got to try out the controls for RF ablation system next to an MRI. That's always fun. So
that's always cool. It's always great to play with cool stuff, isn't it?
That is the favorite part of my job. And the fact that I'm here in Minneapolis, I can drive around, see some really cool stuff.
I think I've used 5 or 6 surgical robotic systems. So that's fun stuff. Yeah,
it's really fun.
We got a good gig, Chris Newmarker.
It is. Fortunate people living the dream, man.
What's the big number one, Chris Newmarker?
Number one on the list, as I said, news from Medtronic.
There you go.
They've had a strategic alliance with GE Healthcare, but they're saying now that they're going to have a significant expansion in what they're doing. And they're saying a key element of this expanded collaboration comes in the form of they're going to really work for broad integration of what they're describing as clinically advanced patient monitor parameters from Medtronic, getting more integration with their Nellcore pulse oximetry or microstream capnography, so they're going to get that integrating across GE Healthcare's monitoring systems, so including maternal and infant care. So I guess really interesting business partnership. It's going to be getting a lot of attention on Mass Device.
And Medtronic's been entering into a lot of this particular business, into a lot of partnerships with other companies like Philips and Mindray. It seems like there's really kind of a new strategy of integration. So I hope we'll have an interview coming up in a very, very soon on the podcast to sort of unpack that strategy. So working on that to happen.
And I'm excited too. Medtronic is we're starting to report about tuck-in acquisitions from them again. So that's fantastic to see Medtronic out shopping again as well. So it's especially being based outside of Minneapolis, right here on Medtronic's home turf. It's great. It's great to see. I don't know. I was even saying that on LinkedIn earlier this week. Kind of feels like there's some mojo right now with Medtronic. There's some stuff on the move over there, which is fantastic.
Well, they're really based in Ireland, though, aren't they, Chris?
Yeah, technically. That old tax thing. Yeah, the Irish.
Just kidding. Just being a little Boston pain in the butt guy. So,
Did you know that Boston Scientific has more people around the Twin Cities?
There it is.
I've always got
touche
around Boston. I was I just saw that new facility up in Maple Grove the other day. I just glanced at it again while I was going on a little business jaunt, and I was just like, that thing is huge, and it's going to double its size. It's just unbelievable. So
I think you should.
You're just shaking your head at me.
All right, Chris Newmarker. Well, this is a great top 5, but folks don't have to wait for podcasts to get top 5 news, right? Chris Newmarker, how can they do that?
I mean, always love to have you listen to us, but if you want to get this news every day, you just go right to Mass Device, right on the top of our homepage. There's a link to go and subscribe to our daily e-newsletter, so you can get the top news in medtech every day in your inbox just by subscribing to Mass Device daily e-newsletters.
Why wouldn't you do that? It's just a no-brainer to me. People, if you're not signed up, make it happen. And in closing, I guess we can tell folks I'm pulling out the conch. Blowing in the conch. We're assembling the news team. Yeah, the news team will be at DeviceTalks Boston. We're hoping to get everybody there. Kayleen Brown, Skylar Rivera, Jim Hammerance, Sean Hooley, Chris Newmarker, and myself.
Truly,
will be on hand, walking the floor and telling stories and reporting right live from the scene where it's all happening. So, if you want to meet us, we haven't assembled in a very long time, so it'll be nice to have the team together.
You're right. I mean, we always had like a good large chunk of our group in different places, but like actually seeing everybody, and this is going to be fantastic. And it's you want to meet the whole Mass Device Talks team, you get over to DeviceTalks Boston.
Absolutely. All right, Chris Newmarker, great list of newsmakers. Now, Kayleen Brown, our managing editor, will bring you this week's FOMO from Novanta.
Ignacio Pedrosa, Advanced Solutions Engineer for Novanta. Welcome to the Future of MedTech Opportunities. I'm so pleased to sit down with you today.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
So, Ignacio, I have a lot of questions specifically about miniaturization and heat dissipation in medical devices. But before going into the challenges, the solutions, and what we can see in the future, I'm hoping you can share a little bit about your background. What drew you specifically to be an expert in miniaturization and dissipation?
Sure. Well, my technical background is in hardware design and power electronics, and I also studied control, which is heavily related to robotics. And then as I started at the formerly known as Ingenia, a company that was acquired by Novanta 12 years ago. It's been a while. And during these 12 years that I've been within the company, I've done a lot, from designing the actual products to caring for the industrialization of those, and later on the architecture, hardware-wise. And in the later years, I stepped more into a field applications engineer role, in which I had the opportunity of having a lot of contact with the current roboticists and top companies in the field by providing support and also trying to find the best solutions for them. And very lately, I've been using this know-how that I've been able to build up to help within the strategy department of the company and conceptualize the products that we are about to launch in the future. So I'm kind of looking to the future to understand what's going to be the needs of the next generation of robots, so that our products would match that. That's more or less my background.
I didn't realize that Novanta worked within this space. Can you help me understand the relationship?
Yes, well, Novanta is actually a very well-known company within the medtech in general, but specifically the surgical robotics domain. It provides both equipment and also components. In the vertical that I am located, that's robotics and automation. We deal more with the components, especially related to motion control and other parts of robotics. But apart from the components, Novanta would also provide full systems that are act during the surgical operations in the theaters and so on and so forth. So yeah, I would say it's a very solid brand when it comes to surgical robotics.
We know that there are a lot of challenges when it comes to miniaturization and challenges with heat dissipation. So can you help us understand what challenges we're facing, maybe historically and today?
Sure. Well, miniaturization, heat dissipation, and efficiency are concepts that are bonded together. So you cannot have miniaturization without efficiency, because the heat dissipation is going to be excessive. You need more metal, you need more surface to be able to get rid of that heat. So if you want to make it smaller and smaller and smaller, you have to be more efficient. Now, the historical problem here is that surgical robots specifically need very small actuation. So generally speaking, you would imagine a robot arm, and in the end of the robot arm, you have the end effector or IDU, or sometimes it's even called needle driver, that ends up in a very tiny instrument. So driving this instrument is already a challenge because it has to be touched. So surgeons and nurses or whatever professionals are working in the theater have to deal with the machine without having our ear too hot. And that's in the patient end. But still you need all the imaginable performance when it comes to motion control. In the other end, there's also a very critical system, which is the console that the surgeon would use to drive the robot, to control the robot. And that entails haptics and force emulation and a lot of sensing. So it's both sensing and actuators going on there, but you need very light and small systems that, again, are cold. So to be able to instrument that and also to motorize that, you need very, very small systems that are very capable. And this has been, generally speaking, a challenge. But as surgical robotics advance, the challenge grows because you keep demanding smaller and more effective, smaller and more practical, smaller and more capable. And at some point, I would say that our ability to do this smaller and at the same time cold and at the same time intelligent, because smart is another axis of this equation, we are enhancing more and more and more and more the capabilities of the surgeon. Now, obviously, the motorized systems are going to have power driving systems, but also going to have logic to get all this intelligence done, all this intelligence embedded. And the funny thing, we always associate the efficiency or the power demands to the power part. When it comes to these very small systems, it's not the case. It may be counterintuitive, but the element that it's dissipating more heat is actually the logics, because those are constantly on. So they integrate along time and become, let's say, bigger portion of the total heat dissipation of the machine. While in the power part, which is related to the movement of the robot itself, it's going to be burst movement, like you move, then you stop, or it's going to be not full torque all the time. So generally speaking, it's going to dissipate in a spurious way, while the other one is constantly dissipated. So the challenge is not only the power part. The challenge is also being able to do some control systems that are extremely capable when it comes to motion control, but at the same time, super, super tiny and efficient.
Where are we today in terms of finding a solution? And then from there, we'll look into the future.
Sure. Well, these solutions is what Novanta, my company, is trying to deal with constantly, in which we have built a lot of expertise. So you are going to need very small sensors that are extremely precise. You are going to need very small drives that are simple to embed, but at the same time, extremely capable when it comes to motion control. Novanta specializes in this kind of devices and always has an eye into the future. So we have to keep doing them smarter and smaller, especially now that new ways of controlling these robots that are not fully direct are coming over with AI, with telecontrol of these robots and with others. You are going to require to put more and more, let's say, capabilities into these very tiny, small devices that you need to build up in the robot. So the challenge is being able to provide them, being able to design them, and also being able to make them cost effective. So there's a debate when it comes to build up a surgical robot in which you are going to decide to which extent trust the expertise of a company like Novanta or try to develop the technology by yourself. There's less of that debate in these specific types of surgical robot that attack something that was not existing before and it's completely new, because being the first to the market is very important. So time to market most probably is going to force you to go into getting some off-the-shelf components. For all the other cases in, let's say, surgeries in the thorax or knee replacement or spinal surgery or many, many, many others, the robots are more or less consolidated. So at the end, the debate is to which extent your time is valuably invested in being able to do the proper motion control, which is already difficult enough, in the tiny, tiny, tiny requirements that the procedures have, instead of focusing into the surgery itself, like the machine, the capabilities of the robot, what adds value when it comes to a surgical robotics company. So I would say this is a huge challenge to be able to deal with these two worlds or this balance.
Based off of your experience, what you know and what you hope to see, what could we see the state of miniaturization and heat dissipation shift or change or be improved upon?
So obviously, when it comes to miniaturization and microsurgery, the thing is in my opinion, it's going to be keep moving forward, being able to reconstruct smaller veins, smaller nerves, smaller everything, for which you would require smaller actuation in general, like smaller IDU, smaller instruments. But then the game changer in the recent years that's pointing to the future is obviously AI. So in my opinion, AI is going to have great impact in surgical robotics by being able to allow the surgeon to not control everything, to have a part of, let's say, autonomy of the robot, or even to be able to use AI to have a response that is even more perfect or suitable than the input from the surgeon and smooth everything up. So as the robots are going to become more and more capable, especially in the micro domain, better hardware is going to be required. Better sensors, better motors, better actuators, and we will try to be there to provide those.
That was really helpful to think about the future, maybe broader. If we were looked to be as specific as possible when it comes to miniaturization and heat dissipation, how could that shift or change in 5 to 10 years?
Well, assuming the premise that the capacities of the robot will expand if we make things smaller and smaller and smaller to be able to be further thing into the smaller parts of the body, at least when it comes to surgical robotics. The problem is that the heat dissipation is a consequence of efficiency or a lack of it. So we are going to dissipate a small amount into our controls, but compared to what the motor is doing, it's enormous related to its size. So we cannot have it, let's say, ultra small without being super efficient. And we are reaching some levels in which we are dealing with crazy efficient, like more than 99.5%. Now, looking into the future, currently the smallest drive, the motor controller in the market with EtherCAT is our Denali drive. But we realize that for the next, let's say, generation of robotics, it is still too big. So we have the responsibility of keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and making it more and more small. And this is what we are working in. So in our next generation of products, you would expect to keep the capabilities of what our current line of products already had and even expand them, but being able to reach a new level of small by making it even more efficient, both into the logic or control domain and to the power domain.
Any last thoughts?
You don't have to do everything. You have to focus in what really matters when it comes to such complex systems as these robots. And I would say, let us walk that path with you. Use our experience. Use the experience that we have built for a lot of years, and let us be your partner in granting the success when it comes to designing these very complex systems.
Ignacio Pedrosa, Advanced Solutions Engineer for Novanta. Thank you so much for joining us on the future of medtech opportunities.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right, great job, Kayleen Brown. If you'd like more information about Novanta, please go to its website, novanta.com. That's NOVANTA.com. Now is the time for our keynote conversation. Let's hear from Jessica Mathieson. She's the president of the medical business at Stryker. Well, Jessica Mathieson, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm very happy to have you back. You were, I think the last time we had you on a podcast was the Stryker Talks podcast. And I looked it up. It was 3 years ago we talked, which is mind-blowing. You were in 2022. And we talked a bit about what we're going to talk about today, but there's certainly a lot has gone on between then and now. And I typically start off this podcast trying to find out how folks found their way into the medtech industry. I can summarize a little bit. You started off in Cisco, the food business, which we talked about at the time, and then you went right to Stryker, correct?
That's correct. And I've been with Stryker for 17 years.
And I did ask you this then, but you've had 3 years to build on this expertise. How do you recommend, or if you're talking to a younger peer, what sort of advice do you give them to move through a company and move up through a company, find ways to advance themselves?
Yeah, it's a great question. I always tell people, talk less, listen more, and find people that you can learn from, that you can brainstorm with. And I'm fortunate enough at Stryker to have had some incredible mentors that I've had the opportunity to learn from over the years.
That's great. All right. Well, let's get into the matter at hand. I know you'll be at HIMSS next week. And there's a lot of important topics going on there. And I want to take, as I mentioned at the top, we haven't talked in 3 years. When we talked previously in 2022, this was just after we emerged from the pandemic, and we hadn't really quite emerged yet. The healthcare setting, I would say the environment for healthcare workers had deteriorated considerably then. And we talked about Vocera and how it was going to help sort of close those gaps and make it a more seamless setting for folks to work in and to make communication easier. Give us a sense. I know you talk to a lot of customers, and I know you're engaged with the healthcare industry. How are things today compared to where they were 3 years ago, not including the virus? I'm just saying in terms of the setting, and have things gotten better? Have they remained challenging? What's it like out there?
Yeah, Tom, I'm really glad you started with that question. And healthcare systems across the world are facing unprecedented challenges, and the way in which healthcare is currently being delivered is not sustainable. Clinicians are asked to do more with less. They need it done faster. There's fewer resources. Unfortunately, fragmented digital tools create noise and confusion. If you look at the micro level challenges, staffing shortages, turnover, rising patient acuity, adverse events, patient satisfaction, workflow inefficiencies, cognitive overload, workforce violence, medical errors, and then on the macro level, there's a focus on improving quality of care, reducing the cost of care, restoring safety, reducing variations through driving standardization, optimizing the workforce we have. So there's a lot going on, and I believe the medical device industry plays a big role in solving these problems and these challenges and partnering with our customers and Stryker, because of our breadth and depth across the continuum of care, from the scene of a roadside accident or cardiac arrest in a home, into the emergency department, into the OR, the med surg, the ICU, is uniquely positioned to partner with our customers to address these challenges. And the Smart Hospital platform is a platform that is focused on addressing all of these challenges I just spoke about.
Yeah, no, let's unpack that a little bit, these challenges. I mean, there is no one better positioned than medtech to solve these problems. And I want to get into those solutions in a moment. But as I said in my first question, I think that we had tied a lot of those stresses to the pandemic earlier on, but it sounds as if we haven't seen any sort of reset, that we haven't seen any sort of move back, that things have continued to be as challenging as they were back then. Is that how you see it as well?
As challenging,
Yeah.
if not more challenging.
Yeah. Okay.
If not more, and I think while there's incredible technology, there are so many disparate systems that do not talk to one another, that are not interoperable, that are creating additional confusion and noise in the system. And unfortunately, that can contribute to delaying care, to adverse events, to medical errors. And so, I think we're here 3 years later, and unfortunately, it has not gotten better. It's gotten worse. Yeah.
So how did solving those challenges always sit squarely inside Stryker Medical's kind of core mission, or did those changes cause a reassessment in the company and a realization that someone's going to do something and we're in the best position to do it?
Yeah. Across Stryker, all of our innovators have always been focused on understanding our customers across all the different call points, their biggest challenges, how we can make their jobs easier, how they can provide better care to patients. And so it's always been about what are the tools and resources we can create and innovate around to make care teams' lives easier and help them provide better care across the continuum of care, not just Stryker Medical. If I think about Stryker Medical and the journey we've been on, one adverse event that we've been focused on for years and years and years, and it is the number one adverse event, unfortunately, year after year, are falls in hospitals. Obviously, that impacts the patient's recovery. It can increase length of stay. It's costly to the healthcare system. And so as we understood that problem in 2012, we launched the industry's first wireless bed that helped address the inefficient workflow as you think about bed alarms being delivered to the nurse. We followed up with the launch of Percuity in 2020. But what I just talked about is one adverse event, and it's one workflow. And we knew we had to think bigger, and we had to understand the inefficient workflows that were happening across the continuum of care, which led us to acquire Vocera in 22, Care AI in 24. We followed up, we innovated around a new Vocera hands-free badge in 25. And so, from a medical standpoint, we've always been focused on bed-related falls, but we knew we needed to think bigger. And our other divisions, including medical, have been helping solve our customers' problems around adverse events and patient satisfaction and staff safety for years.
I remember at the time, I think I saw a video or something on one of your company meetings about the hospital bed, and the way it was presented, it just blew my mind as to how you just think it's a bed. And then you see all the things it can do. You're like, oh, this is a medical device. This is not just a bed. Give me I want to get into Vocera in a moment because we keep mentioning it, and sometimes I assume everyone knows the entire Vocera story, and I don't want to assume that. I want to unpack that, and then I want to get into Care AI. But take us to just Stryker Medical in terms of what will we, if you're in a hospital room and you're looking around, what's going to have Stryker on it? What kind of products do you have in there that are directly related to that patient care?
Oh goodness, Tom. I mean, if you think
maybe top three, top three.
But of course, the bed.
Yeah.
As you think about patient furniture, the bedside table, the treatment recliner. Now, from a Care AI standpoint, you're going to have a sensor on a wall. Our Sage products that help address hospital-acquired infections and safe patient handling are throughout a hospital room. So that's just to name a few.
Okay, now we get a sense. So you're everywhere. Okay, so Stryker, you've got the infrastructure in the room. Now let's unpack it a little bit and bring folks back to Vocera. Talk a bit about what Vocera what it is as a product. It's a company you acquired in 2021, 2022. But what did it add to all those things that Stryker was already doing?
Yeah, great question, Tom. If you think about Vocera, the portfolio for Vocera starts with our clinical communication endpoints. So our hands-free badges, our mobile application, but also our intelligent workflow orchestration and middleware, which we call that product Engage. And that's a really important part of the collective smart hospital platform, because what that allows us to do is pull important data, insights, alerts from medical devices, not just Stryker devices. That's really important, but all medical devices, and get that information to the right caregiver at the right time. The other part of that is it's getting it to the right caregiver at the right time, but it's also understanding what alerts and what data and information we do not need to send to certain care team members. Because one of the challenges with cognitive burden, and if you stand in the hallway of an OR or you stand in the hallway of a med-surg or ICU or emergency department, you will quickly recognize the amount of information that care teams are receiving every single minute. Some of that information is critical in regards to the patients that they're responsible for. Some of that information they don't need. So the Engage rules engine helps us get the right information to the right caregiver, but also filter those alerts so we're not sending additional alerts and alarms and information that caregivers don't need. And that helps reduce cognitive burden.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So the Vocera badges, these are things that the caregivers, nurses will wear. I think primarily do doctors wear them as well, but allow for communication. Basically allow them. What can those badges? What functions do they perform?
Well, first and foremost, it provides for hands-free communication.
Okay.
You think about a nurse.
So just like Star Trek, they can just say,
that's right. Their hands are always full.
Yeah.
Their hands are always full. So it provides for hands-free communication. But what I just talked about with our Engage rules engine, that's how they're receiving through the badge important information and alerts. It also has a discrete panic button because unfortunately, workplace violence in hospitals is at an all-time high. So if a nurse is in a situation where they feel unsafe or at harm, they can discreetly hit the panic button, and then that message is broadcast to the correct team so they know exactly what's happening in the environment that particular nurse or caregiver might be in. Amazing. And that's really important.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So now we have a sense of where you were, what Vocera brought in, and now let's talk about the acquisition and the incorporation of Care AI. Where does Care AI fit into your portfolio?
Well, Vocera and Care AI together are our smart hospital platform.
Okay.
And I think it's important to note that the smart hospital platform is not a single product or solution. It is a foundational platform that brings together 5 core capabilities. The first one is connecting our capital devices, our wireless capital devices. We have 85 plus connected capital devices across the Stryker portfolio.
Wow.
So we have the ability to connect those products into the smart hospital platform. The second part we talked about, it's the clinical communication tools. So those are the endpoints, the hands-free badge, as well as our mobile application. We talked about the intelligent workflow orchestration and middleware with Engage. From a Care AI standpoint, our virtual care, virtual nursing and monitoring. That's what Care AI brought to the platform. And what this allows is remote teams can monitor and assess and support patients seamlessly. So this takes the workload off the care teams that are on the floors. And then also with Care AI, we have ambient intelligence that adds awareness without adding burden. So we're from an ambient standpoint, we are monitoring environments, whether it's rooms or ORs, and we're understanding what is happening in those environments and then proactively communicating to care teams if there is risk and something must be addressed.
You referenced the device that's collecting this information earlier. Talk to me about what is in the room that is seeing all these things that is helping caretakers keep a quote unquote eye on patients even if they're not in the room.
Yes, it is. It's a camera. So it's a Care AI camera. And then our ambient intelligent models sit on the sensor. So the camera is on the wall. And again, it's passively monitoring patients to understand what if a patient becomes agitated and they're a fall risk, the model can recognize that. If physical therapy comes in and doesn't turn the bed alarm on, the model will recognize this and alert a nurse. I could walk you through workflow after workflow of what the models are recognizing with our Care AI cameras and sensors.
So is there any feed that's being, are there screens in the nurse's station where you actually have a feed, or is this all sort of just going into your AI model that's then just pulling out the important information?
Great question. Many hospitals are using Care AI as a virtual nursing and monitoring tool. So many have command centers where you will have a virtual nurse monitoring between 8 and 10 patients.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And typically they will admit patients, they will discharge patients. So again, we're taking the workload off the care nurses. But also if family members come in and want additional information, the virtual nurse can come on screen. So there's a lot of different workflows that the virtual nursing platform enables. And then you also have the ambient intelligence models that are also a part of the Care AI portfolio.
The communication part is amazing because you're in a room and you have a question, you go out and you're looking for the nurse and you don't want to interrupt anyone because you don't know what they're doing and you don't know who to ask and they don't know the answer anyway. So that's remarkable. So
Tom, maybe I'll give you another example. We talked about unfortunately inefficient workflows delaying care. You think about a large health system that might have a wound care nurse. That wound care nurse might be responsible for 5 locations. And so if there is a patient that we're concerned about skin breakdown and that wound care nurse might not be at the facility that day, that might in a hospital that doesn't have Care AI, that might mean that they don't see the patient till the following day or 2 days when they come in. So through this technology, that specialist, that wound care nurse can come in through our virtual nursing platform and see the patient.
Wow. So, and we talked about this, I think, at the start, the state of things, but I just want to revisit again, workflow and more important, workforce. It's harder and harder to find people to join this industry. Do you have a sense of what kind of impact your smart hospital system is able to make in terms of you're able to provide the service of maybe what previously had required 10 people with 5? Do you have any sort of sense of what kind of impact you're making on solving that problem?
Yeah, I mean, a couple different key drivers there. One, if you think about retention of nurses, when they have these tools and resources, we are removing burden from their day-to-day. We're saving them time. We're saving them minutes, and we're able to take some of the, what I would say, less clinical task off of them. And so it's a very much a retention tool for healthcare systems to keep nurses. The other piece is, as nurses near retirement, what we're seeing is many of them are wanting to move into the virtual nursing department. So it will prolong their careers because they now have a pathway to extend their careers through the virtual nursing platform.
No, that's really smart. If you're at a place that has a smart hospital and you go to another that doesn't, you must feel just alone to a degree. Or not to a complete degree, but a good part of your vision has been sort of removed. So you could definitely see someone staying at a place for that purpose. How have you been able to, at Stryker, bring all these companies, these technologies together and incorporate them into the single smart hospital system? What has that integration process been like?
Yeah, well, if you think about our smart hospital platform, it's the fabric of how hospitals get smarter. And everything I walked you through, those 5 core capabilities, they're interoperable. So they all work together. So we can take devices, integrate them into the platform, use our Engage rules engine to route the right information to the right caregiver at the right time. So we've had a ton of success. I think it's really important to understand that all of our customers are at a different phase of their journey. And as we think about their smart hospital strategy, we really have to understand the technology they have, what their priorities are, and then partner with them to figure out what is the next step forward in regards to their smart hospital strategy. But we are uniquely positioned because of our breadth and depth of products across the portfolio, our understanding of medical regulated devices, and again, the smart hospital platform.
So where are hospitals in terms of being ready for this level of communication? Are most of them kind of gimme? Or are they sort of, let's kind of wade into the water slowly? What is the reaction you're getting from customers?
The majority of healthcare systems are at the beginning of the journey. But they understand they need strategic partners to go on this journey with them. A handful of strategic partners to go on this journey with them. And, you know, we always say that the Smart Hospital platform, it's more than a platform, it's a partnership. And it's a multi-year journey for the majority of these healthcare systems. And they want a partner that understands the importance of clinical and operational workflows, that understands the importance of medical devices and hardware play in creating the smart hospital platform and driving more efficient clinical workflows. And again, with our 85 plus products, we're uniquely positioned to be that partner.
Amazing. So let's look forward a bit. As I said, when we talked 3 years ago, you had just brought in Vocera, and that was really kind of amazing technology for us to talk about then. Now you've incorporated Care AI, and you're unpacking what that means for this. Where do you see this sort of platform going? Are there other? Will we be talking 2 years from now about something that I don't know about that is going to take this even further? What's the environment like out there now for these sort of smart technologies and for these connected health technologies?
Well, I hope we're talking in 2 or 3 years, and we've continued to innovate. We'll continue to be acquisitive. You know that, Tom. So absolutely, as a growth company and as a company that's constantly innovating, in 3 years we'll have additional features and additional innovations as a part of the Smart Hospital platform. You know, our customers are faced with systemic challenges across their patient journeys, and they, again, need a handful of strategic partners, and we're uniquely positioned to be that partner to our customers.
And just zooming out to the industry, I mean, I spend most of my time talking about surgical robotics or intravascular lithotripsy and all these things that patients benefit from, but aren't really aware of. I don't spend much of my time, and I probably should spend more talking about these patient-facing technologies. Give me a sense. Last question. You know, you're going to HIMSS next week? You know, you're going to walk the floor. You're going to see what is the pace of innovation like on this side of medtech? How excited are you about where the future is headed for more broadly for this part of the medical technology industry?
You know what is really exciting in this space is we're moving faster than traditional regulated medical devices. And certainly that's a big part of the Stryker portfolio. But in this space, what I just talked to you about, these aren't regulated devices. Right. And so as a company, we are moving faster in this space. We're innovating faster. As we think about software releases, they are at a pretty significant cadence in regards to how often we are releasing new features and new upgrades. And that's been really exciting to be a part of at Stryker, with a company that has traditionally focused on medical device. But the other part of that is, you know, that hardware, the medical devices play such an important part. And I think that's one of the reasons we're well positioned is, again, we know the regulated space, but now we understand the HCIT space, the healthcare IT space, and we've got incredible relationships across the continuum of care, which make us a great partner to our customers.
Fantastic. All right. Well, this is an exciting space for sure, as you said. It's hard to keep up with all the advancement that's going on here, and I'm glad we had this chance to reconnect, Jessica. Thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, well, that is a wrap. Thanks so much for joining us on this episode of the DeviceTalks Weekly Podcast. I'm really grateful for Novanta for providing this episode's FOMO. If you don't want to miss a future episode of the DeviceTalks Weekly Podcast, you have two options. You can either subscribe to DeviceTalks Weekly on any major podcast player or the DeviceTalks Podcast Network. I recommend the second option. That way you don't miss any future DeviceTalks podcast, this one or our other great ones, including the Women in MedTech podcast. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. Connect with Chris Newmarker on LinkedIn. Connect with Kayleen Brown on LinkedIn. And make sure you also follow Mass Device and Device Talks there as well. Don't forget to join us at Device Talks Boston. It's happening on May 27th and May 28th at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. I know they changed the name, but I like the BCEC. Go to boston.devicetalks.com for more information. All right, folks. Thanks so much for being part of the Device Talks Weekly Podcast.